Drop me any time with like another question. Oh, I'm going live already. That was not smart. Are we live yet? I think we're live. Let me see. Hey guys, we're live, I think. Yeah, I'm in the car. I'm not driving at the moment. All right, hold on. This is a test run. See how good this will work. Hey everyone. I clicked going live by accident, a little 5 minutes too early. Hey everyone, welcome to my very first Q&A while driving cross country. I am right now in Rhode Island on my way to New York City. Got about 3 more hours of driving. Pulled over to set up a live stream. Leah, it's Saturday night. Leah is having fun. So are some of the other people. So with me today is Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hello, hello.
Excellent. I'm going to stop looking at my computer, and Corey is going to handle your QA questions. He's going to shoot them off to me. Hopefully the audio is good. The video is good. My camera isn't exactly mounted in my car, so we'll see how this goes. This is basically an attempt, a trial run. Maybe I'll be driving for 4 hours tomorrow with Saifedean down to DC. Maybe if this setup is working right now and the audio is good and the video is good and my camera stays put, maybe we'll do one of these tomorrow. So let's see how it goes. So please post your questions in the live chat, and Corey will pick out the intelligent ones, and he'll go ahead and ask me. Corey, how you doing, man?
Pretty good.
You want to tell people a little something about yourself, or you want to stay a mystery?
Well, normally I do like to remain a mystery. I'm the behind-the-scenes guy who handles the audio podcasting aspect of what all these Bitcoin rock stars do. It's very rare that you'll find me on a broadcast unless I'm promoting a podcast or something along those lines. But for the most part, I'm not a Bitcoin professional, even though I do sometimes play one on TV. That's pretty much all you need to know about me.
Yeah, so Corey takes all of my videos, turns them into audio podcasts. He does the same thing for Jimmy Song, World Crypto Network, and the Saifedean, the Bitcoin Standard podcast, right? Episode 2 is going to come out soon?
That will be out tomorrow morning.
Beautiful. So you guys get to listen to Saifedean's in the morning, and then we'll try and give you an episode tomorrow. All right, here's the deal, guys. On Friday morning, Leah and I did a video on trading Bitcoin, and we did it just as the ICE exchange news broke. That happened just as we did that early video. Hey, Corey, if you're typing, please mute. Thank you. So that news broke right as we were doing that video. I did not have time to read what the hell that news was. Right after that video that Leah and I did, I had to get in my car and drive what I thought was going to be 4 hours to Boston, turned out to be 6 hours. So the moment I got to Boston and checked into my Airbnb, I had to take a quick shower and go speak at the meetup, the video that you saw. After that, we had a late dinner and I went to sleep. I had a workshop this morning, and right after the workshop, I am driving home to New York City. I have not read the news of what the hell the ICE exchange is going to do. I have no clue. So Corey, grab an article and tell me what that news is all about, because I have no idea. I haven't had time, guys. This is my life.
Okay, 1 second. It would seem as though the owners of the New York Stock Exchange are launching a new exchange that will also allow you to trade Bitcoin. Those are the very basics. Let me see if I can find anything else.
All right, I think it has to be more specific than that, because that alone is not enough. So I did read the title and the next line 2 days ago, and it sounded like they were going to have futures with physical delivery. Do you see anything in the article about that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here's the deal, guys. I saw a million like messages to me talking about how whatever it is that they're doing is somehow a game changer. I heard this as of Friday morning. Like I said, I have not had the time to read or talk to anyone to tell me what news actually broke. I can't read while driving, so I'll need to read it tonight, but I'm not going to be home till late. I may not even read it till, I don't know, Monday when we do
Okay,
it.
so Tone, the subheading says launch of regulated physical Bitcoin futures contract and warehouse planned for November 2018. Backed to draw on expertise from leading companies across regulated markets, risk management, technology, and consumer experience, including BCG, Intercontinental Exchange, Microsoft, and Starbucks.
Right. Well, Microsoft and Starbucks are irrelevant. Okay, so they are looking to launch a physically deliverable future. The fact that they're expecting this to happen in November, I think is a little bit optimistic. They better have some serious clearance from the CFTC to do that. And the CFTC is currently upset at the CME for not having enough control over the underlying spot price. Now, if there is a physically deliverable Bitcoin future, that is a little bit of a game changer in the financial space, because unless the future has physical delivery, it has zero effect on the underlying price of Bitcoin. However, if there is physical delivery of Bitcoin, then the futures can be involved in the price discovery of Bitcoin. But it's not until the futures are the primary means of price discovery will it actually matter. So we will see what happens there. Also, we got to wait for regulatory approval. Again, I am speculating on everything. I have not read a single word of the article. All I know is what Corey just told me. I haven't had the time. So, but here's the thing, right? Ever since Friday, people were texting at me saying how this is a game changer and the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. I wish I had the time to reply to those people that I've said a dozen times already. Good news in a bearish market is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You are in a bearish market, and the market will bottom when the charts say so. I have no control of that, and no good news is going to change it. And those that bought a bunch of Bitcoin on Friday on this news learned a very valuable lesson in the last 24 hours, where the price dumped down to below $7,000. Hey, Corey, what's the price at? I have no idea. Still muted.
All right. Bitcoin price is currently 69.98.
All right, so we're now hovering under $7,000. We crossed into the $7,000 area about what, 7 hours ago, 8 hours ago? Something like that, right? So the point is that that's not good. It's not good on several fronts. Hold on a second, I'm getting annoyed by a text message. All right. The longer we hover around $7,000, the more likely we are to break below 7,000. And there's no support below 7,000. You're going to come back to 6,500, which is weaker support now than it was the prior 3 times. Then if it goes to $6,000, that's weaker support now than it was the prior 2 times. And below 6,000, it should be a clear path to 5,000. So we're finally going to get my 5,000. I am as bearish today as I've been recently. We got rejected from 8,500. We've now fallen 1,500 bucks. Now here's the thing: if we fall down to 6,000, that is a $2,500 drop from 8,500. That's approximately 25% fall. that is significant. And the price can bounce off of 6,000 and bring you all the way up to maybe the current levels, to maybe the $7,000 area, maybe the $7,500 area. And then it's going to approach 6,000 again. The break of 6,000, I believe, is inevitable. And so one of these days, when it breaks 6,000, it's going to fall $1,000 in the blink of an eye, because that's just how markets function. I remain bearish, even if this news is good news. And I'm not even sure this ICE exchange news is good news. It's leaning good. I have to read more about it. I'll have more for you by Monday. Again, you see, there's a big difference between me and a guy that sits at home all day and trades. Because like I said, I have not even had time to read one of the most important articles this month in the last 2 days since the moment it came out, because I haven't had, 20 minutes of free time where I can actually read. All right, Corey, we got any good questions from people? Because I can't do any screen share, obviously, unless you guys want me to die.
I got a couple I'll read to you. First one, Tone, you being an options guy, how come you don't talk about BTC price in terms of probabilities and ranges?
Well, I don't understand what that has to do with options. So maybe let the person re-explain. What do you mean?
We'll have an example. The example is moves based on IV or open interest.
Well, because we have very little options data. The only company that's trading options is LedgerX. I haven't really had the time to look at their data. I haven't registered to trade there to have access to their data. And I don't have those numbers in front of me. If TradingView can plot me that information, open interest, strike prices, liquidity, IV, implied volatility, if I had that data, I can somewhat use it. But again, options is my absolute specialty. I have crazy trade secrets when it comes to trading options that no one knows. Two people know. One of the guys with whom we developed some of these strategies back in the early 2000s, and another very close friend of ours that wants to get involved with our little trading operation. I am barely involved in that trading operation because I'm busy doing the Bitcoin stuff. And I don't want to give away our secrets by accident or on purpose, and it's going to stay that way. I made one options trade in Q2. I did that trade 2 weeks ago. The trade took about 10 days. And I threw about 30%, like a third of my retirement account on that trade. And that trade returned about 25 or 30%. So I made about 10% on my retirement account from a 10-day trade. And I'm going to do my next trade in October. I'm a very meticulous, very specific seasonal trader. And that trade ain't going to come around again for 3 more months. And I'll do it again. So that's what I do. That's the only kind of trading I have time for. And maybe one day I'll stop traveling and I'll trade from home and may or may not still be doing videos. But trading isn't going anywhere. I can trade when I'm 65. I can't travel the world and do what I'm doing when I'm 65. I can guarantee you that much. Maybe I could, but I don't think I'd want to by then. So trading can wait. No rush. Yeah, but those things don't really apply. I don't think options really matters in Bitcoin. It just doesn't. I don't think it's liquid enough. But again, I haven't seen the numbers. All right, what else we got?
Okay, Tone, can you please go deeper on the idea that alt capitulation may bring the end of Bitcoin bear market? I also noticed your ETH target of $2. Can you comment?
Yeah, so somebody sent me a tweet saying, can a shitcoin capitulation, and capitulation means a complete drop in prices. Can ETH capitulation bring the end of the Bitcoin bear market? And the answer is it could, but we haven't seen an altcoin capitulation yet. It needs to be very severe. It needs to be severe. Like Ethereum would have to drop to unbelievably low levels. We're talking sub 50 bucks, preferably $2. Litecoin back to $15. Monero probably under $20, $30. Ripple back to under a penny. And all the new garbage, right? Like EOS to zero where it belongs. If we see something like that, then sure. But I can't see that happening without Bitcoin also taking a massive hit. So I can't see an altcoin capitulation at current Bitcoin prices. Ugly Old Goat talked about that the drop in altcoins is what's supporting the price of Bitcoin. And I can potentially agree with that. But notice that even if the drops in altcoins over the last 3 months have been supporting the price of Bitcoin, Bitcoin continues to make lower highs and lower lows. So sooner or later, the speculation and the fear in Bitcoin itself is going to manipulate into the price of Bitcoin independent of what the altcoins are doing. So even if the altcoins are going to dump hard and there is a movement of selling those altcoins into Bitcoin driving the price up, that demand for Bitcoin still needs to overtake the selling pressure of people holding Bitcoin. And you don't know if Tim Draper is going to panic and sell 400,000 Bitcoin. You don't know if Mike Novogratz is going to panic and take the loss on the $200-300 million worth of Bitcoin he's holding, because these guys do have investors. And if they continue to show an unreasonable paper loss in cryptocurrency, they might lose some high net worth clients. And they may be forced to sell those positions to keep those high net worth clients. So you don't know what's going to happen under the hood. You don't know if bigger funds are competing for the clientele of Mike Novogratz and the Drapers. And it's to their advantage to crash the price of Bitcoin and crush these guys' portfolio and steal their clients, making fun of them how stupid their crypto trades were. And then once they steal their clients, they're going to pile into the same Bitcoin and make those clients their money back. You have no idea how cutthroat these hedge funds are with each other. And if you want an idea, please go watch the show Billions. So you have no clue what's going on. Just because you hear that Wall Street is getting in, Wall Street could be getting in by wiping out their competition. Therefore, it's really hard to judge. I'm not sure how I got on that tangent, but all right. So just because the altcoins are falling harder and some of that value is going into Bitcoin, it doesn't guarantee the fact that the Bitcoin price has to outstrip the Bitcoin selling from other means.
All right, Tony, I got a follow-up to that one. At what point in the expectation of a capitulation does that expectation prevent the capitulation?
I'm sorry, repeat that? That was confusing.
Okay, so at what point in the expectation of a capitulation does that expectation prevent the capitulation?
When there's too many over-leveraged shorts. You saw that in April. There were way too many people leveraged short, expecting capitulation, including myself. I wasn't paying attention to the over-leveraged short data and how far it outstripped the longs. and the shorts got pummeled with a short squeeze. This is where you got to keep your stop losses tight, get out of there, and wait for better opportunities. So your capitulation ain't gonna come if too many people are gonna profit from that capitulation.
Okay, another question on the alt capitulation. Don't you think that those projects that are complementary to Bitcoin with fair mining and no ICOs like Litecoin and Monero will stick around in a mostly post-altcoin world?
I think so. I think things like Monero and Litecoin will stick around unless their mining structure goes belly up, like what happened with Doge. I think those coins will stick around. I think those coins are kind of hard to 51% attack. So I think they'll stick around. But and mostly because the tokens themselves of Monero and Litecoin, the tokens are fairly distributed around the world. They're nowhere near as distributed as Bitcoin's tokens, but they're somewhat distributed. When you look at all this other nonsense, whether it's Digibyte or Verge, or these other coins that are pretending to be proof of work, there's like, a dozen people that hold like 50% of all those coins. And those coins are at a much higher risk of never being adopted because no one should trust those coins. It's just obvious. And I can see them sticking around. Even Max Coin, I can see sticking around. But again, no one is going to care at all. And they're not going to be used for anything really useful, right? As long as people keep believing in them and pump them, like, think about it, right? Like, I think there are more people with Litecoin and Monero avatars, like actual people, right? We're not talking companies. We're just talking people. I think there are more people with Litecoin avatars and Monero avatars and even Digibyte avatars on Twitter than there are people with Bitcoin avatars. What does that tell you? That tells you that to a person that is using a Litecoin avatar, pumping Litecoin is the most important thing to that person. Most people in Bitcoin are using their own like pictures or pictures of things and not just using Bitcoin, right? Like, I can tell a lot about a person by their Twitter avatar. And if their Twitter avatar is Ripple, if their Twitter avatar is, Verge or any other shitcoin, it tells me a lot about that person. There is a reason why my Twitter picture is my face and not the Bitcoin logo, okay? It's more important to me that people know who I am and the fact that I talk about Bitcoin. When all of these anonymous Twitter handles, they don't care. They'll burn their reputation. They might have a Twitter handle for Litecoin, a Twitter handle for Monero, a Twitter handle for all these other shitcoins as they gain reputation in those shitcoins. And because they'll disappear, guys, how many people that you remember that were pumping this stuff, they were big time traders, they would talk shit. Like, who remembers Wolf of Poloniacs? He disappeared a year ago, right? All these other big shot traders, they come and go. They're anonymous Twitter handles and they come and go. They disappear. Same thing with all these guys. They have another Twitter handle that with another logo of another shitcoin that they have a reputation on, right? No matter which one sticks around, they're promoting it because they're investing in it, right? So that should tell you something. Not that many people are using Bitcoin logos for their Twitter avatars, even though they're Bitcoin maximalists. You really have to be someone that wants to protect your privacy. Like, I know Mr. Hodl is one. He usually uses some kind of a Bitcoin logo, but he's been around since like 2012 minimum, maybe even 2011. I don't know how I got on that tangent either, but just think about that. Think about how many shills there are for these altcoins, and that should tell you all you need to know. And these shills, they'll pump something else if the price is right for them personally.
Okay, so next, why hasn't Tether imploded yet?
Because Tether is a regulatory problem, not a technological problem. I mean, it's on the Omni layer, and I have no idea who the hell maintains the Omni layer. But as long as the Omni layer doesn't go belly up, Tether is simply a regulatory problem. And if the Bitfinex and Tether are complete, lapdogs and fully cooperating with the government entities like FinCEN and SEC, and they could be, I don't know, then it's to the regulators' advantage to keep Tether moving if they are able to provide them with some material information that gives them a bigger fish. That's speculation on my part. I have zero evidence on anything. Tether is a regulatory implosion. Tether will blow up when the regulators want it to blow up, pretty much, because I don't know if Tether is or isn't fractionally reserved. If Tether is fractionally reserved, it will only go belly up when people lose confidence in Tether and they start demanding money for the Tether. But people seem to have a lot of confidence in Tether. Somewhat likely, when Bitcoin, we will know a lot when the price of Bitcoin bottoms and starts to go up quickly. I think the next pump in Bitcoin is what might be the end of Tether, because when the next time Bitcoin pumps all the way up, people may want to cash out of Bitcoin, and Tether may not be able. I mean, if they're running a fractional reserve, that's how they will go belly up. They won't be able to meet those demands. Look, Mt. Gox was insolvent as of 2011. It went belly up in 2014. These things are not instant. They take a while. So Tether can last 2 to 3 years before it actually implodes.
All right, next, how do firms like Goldman calculate probabilities of different outcomes from technical analysis patterns?
They don't. When it's a really big institution, they don't really do technical analysis. They're mostly fundamental analysis. Also, Goldman doesn't really have too many hedge funds. Goldman makes its money as the middleman. Goldman, like even on the CDOs and the credit default swaps, I mean, Goldman was packaging the mortgages and selling them to investors. There's no technical analysis there. Goldman isn't trading Apple stock. There might be a couple of hedge fund divisions that are small and they're completely independent, maybe. I don't know what the hedge fund division at Goldman is. Goldman makes most of its money as the middleman. Like Goldman taking a company public makes them a bunch of money. Goldman does the big stuff.
Tone, seems like we're losing you. Tone, you still there? Can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
A little
Sorry.
bit. Yeah, gotcha.
Mic check. Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I lost signal in the car, and when I lose signal and it takes me back, I come back on mute, and so now I have to look away from the road and onto my computer where I can unmute. I think you might be on the big screen.
Well, that's no good.
Give me a second here. Thank God there's not many cars. There we go. I'm on the big screen now. All right. I should stay on the big screen now. You can also keep an eye on the YouTube channel. Just keep it mute so you can see what the audience is actually seeing. Yeah, so I am on I-95. I think I should be in Connecticut by now. I'm going to get to New York eventually. GPS says 2.5 hours to go. All right. I don't think my battery life will last that long, but we're all good. All right. So I was talking about Goldman. So, I mean, most of the giant funds, they don't use technical analysis. Do you think Tim Draper or Novogratz, when they're buying like $50 million worth of Bitcoin, do you think they're using technical analysis? Of course not. They're using, longer term outlooks. These guys aren't trading a month at a time. These guys take on positions. These positions can stay on for months or years. They don't do that much technical analysis. That's not what they do. Muted, Corey.
Okay, so next, Tone, do you think that RSK sidechain is beneficial to a decentralized Bitcoin?
Well, my opinion is kind of irrelevant until there actually is an RSK sidechain. And I have a feeling that there will never be one, because I don't think drive chains will ever be forked. I am not an expert at side chains or drive chains. Now, the idea of side chains was developed by Blockstream. And a lot of those guys, while they thought side chains were viable, a lot of them are no longer feel that way. So it's still unclear if side chains in general will ever be viable. And even if somebody wins the debate that side chains are safe and good, it will be a big challenge to get those side chains forked into Bitcoin. If it requires a hard fork, no way in hell is that going to happen. If it requires a soft fork, there is a chance it can happen. But I don't see that anytime soon, because first, companies like Ethereum and EOS and Waves and Lisk and Cardano, these companies, they first need to prove that smart contracts are needed on a blockchain as opposed to inside a centralized database. Now, I am still not convinced that smart contracts need to be decentralized and a blockchain needs to be bloated with the dumb data of a smart contract. I have made the argument for a long time that smart contracts do not need to be decentralized unless they're augurs assassination contracts, in which case they probably do need to be decentralized. and nobody wants those contracts. At least I don't. So, like, the world will need to be convinced that smart contracts need to be decentralized, that prediction markets need to be decentralized. And that is a tough argument, and I'm not buying it. So until that can be proven, why would you risk the Bitcoin network to a side chain that could, make things worse for something that smart people can easily argue doesn't even need to be decentralized and doesn't even need Bitcoin? So I don't see RSK doing that anytime soon, and that's why they're ICOing, because they need money, and they're gonna be just another, Ethereum, pretty much.
Tone, why did Coinbase pick Ethereum Classic to add to its offerings?
As opposed to what? Like
I'm assuming anything else.
Like, do they have Monero? Like what is Coinbase offering? Let's start there. I don't remember.
I think they've got Bitcoin, Bcash, Ethereum, and Litecoin.
So no Monero.
No Monero.
Okay. And they added Ethereum Classic.
Correct, or are in the process of.
Well, Ethereum Classic is, technically speaking, the second most legitimate altcoin on the market, because it's the only one besides Bitcoin that I can buy in my retirement account, because of Barry Silbert and what's that company? What's this company? What's Barry's?
I don't know offhand.
Shoot. Digital something. I forget. There's so many sub companies. Anyway, so Barry Silbert has GBTC.
It's a digital currency group.
Thank you, digital currency group. So Barry Silbert has GBTC. It's a quasi ETF to me. It's a ETP, and I can long or short it in my traditional trading account, and I can long in my retirement account. And he has the Ethereum Classic in the same way. Oh wow, I have to plug my phone in. Hold on one second. My phone died quick. One second, Corey. So Ethereum Classic, because I can buy Ethereum Classic in my retirement account, that gives it pretty damn good credibility as far as like the legality of the situation is concerned. And the biggest thing for Coinbase is to stay on the up and up with the regulators, and they can defend Ethereum Classic on their platform. It's a little harder for them to defend, I don't know, EOS or something, right? So Ethereum Classic was totally legitimate for them to add.
Okay, so next, what is the best hedge against crypto?
Oh, good question. That's a good question. Well, crypto in general or Bitcoin, right? Because those are very different things. I don't know. That one stumped me a little bit here. The best hedge against Bitcoin. Let's get back to that one. What else you got?
How will people get access to credit in a Bitcoin economy?
I don't know. That's a problem. That's a problem, right? So I have read a little bit about this situation. So what you really want to do is you want to find as much information about the credit environment in the United States between 1880 and 1905. So whatever mechanisms were used, me, Ugly Old Goat, and I will probably talk about this. He wants to do a podcast. I'm going to try and get him to show his face. He knows a lot about that era, and he can talk a lot about the credit structure during the gold standard. I'm not sure. It will be very interesting. Credit is very important to an economy. Very important. And it's very useful. The problem is when you extend credit to a deadbeat that can't pay back the interest, let alone principal, you get into a lot of trouble. Now, the biggest deadbeat when it comes to borrowing are governments, because governments cannot even live within their means of the taxation that they are collecting revenue for themselves. So how in the world are they ever going to pay back the interest on their debt, let alone the principal? So all of the credit expansion that goes to government is a complete disaster. The second worst type of credit expansion is people buying homes. If a person can't afford a home, or they can't put down, let's say, a 50% down payment, they have to borrow a lot of money that gets created out of thin air for them to buy their home. Their home is not going to make them any money. A home is not a productive asset. A home is only going to cost you more money. You got to pay for a gardener. You got to, pay more bills. You got to fix the roof. You got a termite problem. So having a home is going to cost you a bunch of money. So you're basically spending money working, paying off your home debt. Now, expansion on homes to lend homes, it does create some jobs. It creates jobs to service the home. It creates jobs to build the homes. So there is some good coming out of it, unlike lending to government. So that's a bit neutral. Now, really good credit expansion is lending money, creating money out of thin air, lending it to businesses to expand and create profitable assets, hiring more people, and creating wealth in your economy, whether it's local or a little bigger than that. So, but that lending has to be responsible. You can't have, your banker friends only lending to their friends and their deadbeat cousins, and we have regulation to prevent that. We can debate whether it's good or bad. So the credit expansion to businesses has to be, smart. It has to be risk averse. You can't just hand out this credit to companies that are going to fail. The VCs are not, the VCs do not have a license to print money. A VC can only lend what they're able to collect from rich people. So, but banks can create money out of thin air. Credit cards can create money out of thin air. And credit cards provide this kind of expansion. So as long as, there could be responsible lending, where most of this lending is done by responsible people, choosing good businesses to lend money to, and being very responsible and not lending, people whose job it is to, let's say, I don't want to, demean anyone, right? But if you have a job as a janitor you probably shouldn't be getting a $700,000 loan to buy a house, like what happened in 2007. That was a huge screw up, not only on the side of the banks, but also on the side of the regulators and government, who pushed the banking sector to lend irresponsibly. So there was lots of people at fault here. I'm not blaming any one entity. And I'm also blaming the janitor who thought he could afford a $700,000 home. It's his fault too. And, the predatory mortgage lenders, there was a lot of people at fault there, right? So you have to give credit responsibly. And do people have confidence in it, right? If people will have confidence in the banking system that has a bunch of Bitcoin on reserve, and then fractionally reserving some of that Bitcoin for credit expansion, let's say a small country, right? Let's say in America, people are only using Bitcoin and there's no credit expansion, right? And let's say another country, let's say Switzerland, right? Switzerland starts doing fractional reserve on top of a bunch of Bitcoin that they have. And all of a sudden, you see the Switzerland economy boom, like the Japanese economy was booming in the 80s. They were the second largest economy in the world, a little island of Japan. And a lot of that boom has to do with some fractional reserve lending on top of Bitcoin as the backbone, as their currency is pegged to Bitcoin, but there is responsible credit being done. And a small country doesn't have to be Switzerland, or maybe another country, or maybe US is doing it. And the economy is just booming, creating all this innovation, sucking in brain power from other countries, creating more innovation, right? Maybe we'll have our automatically driving cars, self-driving planes, self-driving cars. Maybe we're getting into flying cars. Who the hell knows, right? Somebody built a teleporter. Who the hell knows, right? And this credit expansion is doing good because it's responsible. Then more of the world is going to get a lot of confidence in, hey, maybe we're going to dump this gold, and we're talking 100 years into the future. Who the hell knows, right? I might not even be alive when this happens. And now we went through 40, 50 years of hard money like the gold standard, and then just like the gold standard deteriorated into the fractional reserve, the future Bitcoin standard may deteriorate into a fractional reserve, because people will start to trust government again. And if the lending starts off being responsible, that's great. Eventually, it'll become irresponsible, and then we'll go back to the Bitcoin standard. Or maybe 200 years from now, another Satoshi will come along and do something else, do something better. Who knows? All right, let me not get pulled over here. I started to go a little fast there.
You ready for the next question, Tone?
Yeah.
All right. How do you feel about the use of the term bits or millibits as a denomination standard? Is that a good or bad thing?
I don't like millibits, but I like bits. However, we need to be 100% sure that Bitcoin is not going below $10,000 in order to transition to bits. I think Jimmy Song put in a BIP protocol, a BIP, yeah, it's a protocol, a BIP to try and change to the bits notation. I like the bits notation. People have a problem thinking more than two digits to the right of the decimal point. At a $10,000 Bitcoin valuation, one bit is a penny. When we are positive that one bit is not going to go below a penny, So when Bitcoin starts approaching 50,000, 60,000, I would love to change the convention to bits. And then when one Bitcoin is $100,000 and one bit equals 10 cents, we can now pay for stuff in bits. Hey, how much is that soda? Well, that soda is 40 bits, right? So 40 bits, that's $4. And now it becomes something like, becomes a lot easier for Bitcoin to be a unit of account one day in the future if we're talking bits. One Bitcoin is $1 million, one bit is $1, you know? And then maybe there'll be a new McDonald's index, right? Like the Big Mac index, right? Or the McDonald's dollar menu. Maybe it'll be the McDonald's 1-bit menu, right? 1 bit is $1, Bitcoin is $1 million, you know? That will go a long way to stabilizing the price of Bitcoin from a mentality perspective, and we can maybe denominate things in bits. Like, hey, how much do you charge? You know, I charge 100 bits an hour when 1 bit is approximately $1. You'll know how much 1 bit buys you at around Bitcoin $1 million. So I am looking forward to using the bits notation, but not until we have much higher. Am I kind of dark now?
Yeah, it's pretty dark in there, Tone.
Oh, I can't reach my middle light. I'm thinking of my options. I don't really have any options. So
I think you're okay for right now.
All right. So the lights I have right now. I think my flashlight's in the trunk. I'll sit here with like one hand holding a flashlight like this.
Okay, so next question. I think we're getting towards the end. Why are bankers the only ones allowed to print money?
Because if you had the ability to print money, you would be Zimbabwe. Do you know how much regulation a bank goes through? Go watch the law, my latest law show from Friday. We talked about the OCC, controller of the currency, allowing fintech companies to become banking charters so that they also have the ability to print money. That regulation is insane. It's insane. If you want to go through all that regulation, please, you'll have the license to print money as well. The average person is not capable of doing that. Everyone always says, if I had the ability to print money, the world would be a better place. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve of Zimbabwe said. And they're more responsible than you would be if you had the license to print money. Just look at all of these shit coins and ICOs. They're printing money. There you go.
All right, Tone. Questions have slowed down.
Yeah, go ahead.
Questions have slowed down. Anything else you want to cover?
No, that's pretty much it for me. What's the price of Bitcoin? Corey, what's the price?
Looks like 7,014.
All right, so we're hovering around that 7,000 mark. I'm still bearish here, right? Like the daily is probably on like what, a 5 of 9 maybe? I don't remember off the top of my head. I haven't looked at a chart in a while. The 12-hour probably hit its 9 yesterday. It's doing its 1 to 4 candle correction, and then it should accelerate to the downside. The weekly is probably on a green 3, so it should price flip next week. And then the week after, it should have a red 2 below a red 1, giving you more bearish momentum. Everything is bearish right now, and I'm still expecting my 5,000 in the near future.
You know, it seems like the large volume spikes are only coming in on these dumps lately. What's the implication of that?
There isn't. This is what happens in a bear market. In a bear market, the dumps are big. In a bull market, all the volume comes in on the upswing. It's just the way markets function. Bitcoin is not that special, guys. It's a little special from its technology. It's not that special from fear and greed of traders. It's all the same.
Okay, I do have one more question. The death cross on the weekly is coming. How soon will the market react to that?
It already has. The market reacted at 8,400 when it reversed right from the millimeter miss on that death cross. I mean, the death cross is pretty much with us. You can zoom in on that weekly chart all you like, and that thing is almost touching. The death cross is inevitable, and the price was right in the death cross. The death cross is too late to trade it's not too late, but the death cross trade was last week at 8,400, like a bunch of us were telling you for weeks in advance. The death cross has already played like 80% of everything the death cross was going to do. It has already done. The rest is just stragglers. I'm still thinking about what's a good hedge for Bitcoin. I'll think about that one. I should probably see what Tyler thinks about it. Good question. That one got me.
All right, I think this is going to be the last one that's come in. Is the ETF still coming? You think it's going to be approved?
I don't think it's going to be approved this year. I still need to find out what the hell they're supposed to say on August 10th, because it sounds like they already said everything they needed to say. So as we get closer to August 10th, oh shit, that's like 3 days away, isn't it? I need to find out if anyone has any information on what the SEC is supposed to say on August 10th. Please tag me in that tweet. I'll try and take a look. But I'm not expecting an ETF this year. I never was.
All right, Tone, I think that wraps it up as far as questions go.
All right, thanks, guys. I got to try and end the live stream without dying. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a test run of Bitcoining while driving at 70 miles an hour. It went well. I survived. And we'll try and do this tomorrow with Saifedean if it all works out. Other than that, I'll be home late tonight. There won't be any more live streams. Tomorrow, I'm driving to DC for the carnivore dinner with Leah, Max Kaiser, Stacy Herbert, Saifedean, of course. And if there are still tickets available for $120 at one of the fanciest restaurants, you can't beat that. Leah, huge shout out. Thank you so much for organizing. And I'll see you tomorrow in Washington. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Time to end the live stream. Carefully.